there's another one coming up this Saturday. It's free. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting of Independent School District 544 to order. Clerk, can you establish a quorum for us, please?
Certainly. Kirby Anderson.
Here.
Natalie Knudsen. Here. Melanie Cole. Matthew Lemke.
Here.
Missy Hermes present. Stephen Vigasa.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Kirby. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda passes. Moving on to a resolution of acknowledgments.
I'd like to offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Thank you to Barry and Pamela Betcher, Andrew and Kelsey Larson, Jeremy and Julia Bakken, Matthew Spees and Julia Silvas, Justin and Kelly Arneson, David and Janice Spees, Zachary and Jill Fiesta, and Timothy Graff for their donations to the Otter Angel account, an account created to anonymously assist families unable to pay for student meals.
Thank you, Missy. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Natalie. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Natalie Knudsen,
Yes.
I have a
Matthew
question.
Limke,
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry. Do we know what the balance of that account is right now? It's gotta be getting up there with our lunches from,
I would have one. I'd have one.
sorry.
Matthew Limke,
Yes.
Missy Hermes, yes. Stephen Vigasa,
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to reports. Our first report is from Lance Wells, our food service. He's going to give us a food service update. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to start out that I wanted to let you guys know how proud we are and we should be of our team. They've all come in every day facing the known risk of exposure, the stress of their own health, and the burden that families will struggle if we cannot complete this mission that we're on. The fact that we've had exposures in the building and we've been able to implement all of our safety protocols successfully. We have had actually less lost time than we've had in previous years under normal conditions. Many of my team are in that high-risk group, yet they carry on. They have continued to problem solve, do random jobs the first time, sub at other buildings, and maximize resources overall. In fact, last year, it's funny that I was pushing them into all of these choices that we were trying to implement into the food court, and it was pushing. This year, I wanted to start something really simple so that we could just get down with the routine and make it really easy on us to ease back into the school year. And it was them who was pushing me for more choices because their jobs seemed lacking because we weren't doing the kinds of things that we had been doing in the spring. Things would all look very different without their contribution. Currently, we're running the summer food service program, which is similar to the program that we ran in the spring. The difference is that we're doing, instead of curbside pickup for a hot meal and a breakfast, we're doing some different things. First of all, the reimbursement covers all the meals at a slightly higher rate than National School Lunch Program, which is good. That helps us. We are waiting to see how Minnesota will apply the waiver that was recently extended by the USDA in the next couple weeks or less. The hope is that this will go through the end of the school year. We are providing meals for free to all in-person learners. Currently, we are serving about 59% of the meals we served on average last year. Breakfast continues to be the best opportunity for our program to grow, and it's good for the students. But it is really, really, really hard to give away a free breakfast. Who would have thought? Lunches are served through the lines at elementary schools and at Roosevelt. Students at Kennedy School still use most of the scramble area that we built last year, where everything is prepackaged, self-service, in a modified scramble system that requires they choose fruits and vegetables prior to their entree so that we can keep face-to-face contact to a minimum amongst them. Distancing, of course, is a huge challenge in all of our buildings. we are providing bulk meals then either 3 days for the Maroon and Gold learners or 5 days for Otter learners and children 18 and under not enrolled in school. We are planning on adding the snack option in the off-campus meal program, as we call it, meal sets in the coming weeks. If and when the state extends the summer food, summer SFSP, we as a district will then do a big registration push, including contacting our benefit families who will be hurt the most if we end up moving up levels in our learning program. We feel more families will sign up if they know it's going to be for the whole year, because previously it was until funding runs out or December, whichever comes first. Uncertainty causes people to not act on their best interests. Getting our families registered for the program now and in this process will make it easier if we ever do have to expand those services down the road. For example, if we move up an education tier, if we are already having families in our program for the A or B or 100%, it'll be easy just to add more meals or more family members onto those registrations, rather than all of a sudden getting, a half of the community all signing up in the first week of this. Currently, we are sending out about 616 breakfasts and 616 lunches every Wednesday. If everyone who signed up actually came to pick up, we'd be doing more like 823 breakfasts and 823 lunches. So that's a difference of a couple hundred, which adds up. 56% of our families that are registered in this program are Otter families. That means they are 100% distance learning. Or in the case of 43 of those children are not enrolled in the school district at all. It means that they're under the age typically, or they're 18 and still at home. Otter, that group picks up theirs at about 76%. Maroon accounts for 22.6% of the families. That's the, I know that's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I think, or Tuesday. I get them mixed up, but either way, we all know Maroon and Gold. Maroon accounts for 22%, 6% of those families, and Gold accounts for 20% of our families. In all that we are doing, we are really not earning what we were doing last year, but we do have less costs in some areas and same costs in others. We are doing everything we can at this point in terms of food costs and by utilizing the commodities we have on hand more frequently in the menu, and even cutting out some of the high-cost services that are currently not value-added in our program. I believe that we can keep our staff working by increasing the number of meals that we serve, either through breakfast, through the off-campus meal program, through encouraging kids to participate, through adding the snack program, and by reducing the cost of the meals that we produce. Again, utilizing the commodities which we've already paid for and they're already sitting here on campus. There are so many variables now and in the future. We just keep making plans for the worst case scenario and hope that we don't need it. That way we will hopefully be prepared for whatever comes at us next. That's really it in a nutshell. I don't have a ton of stuff. One thing I want to always kind of end with is something kind of cheery and positive. So thanks to the 544 Foundation, we received a $2,500 grant. And that grant was to put vinyl graphics package on our delivery truck to promote child nutrition and our program as a whole. I have learned in my experience with schools that professionalism goes a long ways in encouraging support from the community, not only for the program but for the district, but it also increases our meal participation because we've gone from, oh, that's the food service to, wow, our food service is uptown. I have confidence in what they're doing. They look good because, image is a lot of things. So I'm kind of a Luddite, it turns out. So I went old school, and I'm just going to hand these out quick. I'm sorry I have to get so close to you to do that. I can't leave you out. This is almost kind of the first viewing of this information. We finalized the graphics package today. There we go. Oops, I almost got about 7 of them. There you go. So real simply, and I guess I could have spares here. I should probably keep one. Anybody else desperately want one? I can post this someplace if I had to. So essentially on this, we have a big white cube box. And on the side, you're going to see on the driver's side, the We Serve Education Every Day with our website, Otter Food Services, our Facebook. This is our actual school logo that we have on our uniforms that we use on everything in food services. On the other side, it's very similar, except for we do have that door on the side that they're working around. If you look on the back of the truck, above the lift gate, it's going to have the lookout, nutritional meals on their way. And then on the doors of the cab, of course, the Fergus Falls School District Otters logo and information on each of the cab doors. We're really excited about this because it is a mobile billboard promoting nutrition and our program everywhere he goes, and he spends 4 hours a day running around town. So that's kind of a super cool thing. The last thing I'd like to comment on is I and many of my team follow a nationwide page on Facebook called Tips for School Meals That Rock. Sometimes you get lots of great ideas. Sometimes you get information that you don't hear in the news, such as best case practices that schools were using at the beginning of the COVID outbreak as to how they were doing meals, how they were serving meals, how they were protecting themselves, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, and we used that. We followed that. We took their example and then we improved upon it. Unfortunately, along with that, it's sad to see that districts all over the country are struggling with the 100% distance learning. Entire departments are being laid off in food service. Families are losing loved ones on top of that. Most often in some of these posts, they express frustration and the lack of support they get from their administration, staff, and community. While that makes me feel so sad for them, it makes me glad, happy, joyful, and grateful to be part of this organization. My team and I feel the love and support from this board, the administration, the staff, the students, and this community every single day when we come to work. Hi, my name is Lance, and I'm an otter. I'm open to questions if there was 30 seconds left of my 10-minute presentation. I don't know how I did.
Questions from the board?
When you said that it's really hard to give away a free breakfast, what do you mean, Lance?
Well, we actually do, well, we have less students in this building, but we actually do a lot less breakfast district-wide than we were doing when we were having regular school. A few of my coworkers here will testify that it probably gets tiring to hear me out in the foyer of the school. Get your breakfast, get your hot, and it's like warm cinnamon rolls, warm, you know, and they just like, oh, nope, don't look at food, guy, I gotta keep moving. And I'm not sure, in some cases they go, I've had breakfast, they're holding a can of pop, this is their breakfast, to them that's what a breakfast is. It's been really hard to get them to take it. And it's a no-brainer to us that every kid who gets a good nutritious breakfast, and in fact, and I probably have said this before, it is a proven fact that children who eat school breakfast every day have higher test scores, better attendance, higher GPA, and then generally have better health for a lifetime. And so it's so important and yet equally frustrating as we just kind of watch, and it's not like we're handing out crackers and juice and milk. I mean, we've had all kinds of delicious whole grain items we've had. We try to target everything that they really like. But it is, and you know, Elaine and Jeff have both seen me, and Blake have seen me up there basically begging kids to take breakfast in the morning. Now, we are trying a couple strategies. We just haven't had time to see them through. Renee Erickson, bless her heart, she's going to be a test subject for us providing her breakfast for her entire class in the morning, and we're going to drop those off, and then we'll pick up the ones that didn't take breakfast in an effort to see if that is a working model. And she is going to include the breakfast as part of her school morning as she does the announcements, and while it's technically a breakfast in the classroom thing, it really is just going to be a pilot. And then we got bad weather, and then we got school closed, and so some things have put a hurdle in that, but we're definitely focused on trying to see if that model at least would work here at Kennedy. But a lot of kids are, you know, and then the tough part is we can't double dip. So if they grabbed a breakfast earlier, we can't really serve them another breakfast later. So she'll have to coordinate her end to say, now make sure you don't get breakfast ahead because I'll have it waiting for you in my classroom. But she volunteered to be part of that to help us try to promote breakfast, so we're grateful for that. And if it works there, I'm sure there are other teachers who would also look at doing that. That's where the snack comes in. First, we're going to try to figure out how we can implement the snack program as part of the off-campus. So we're basically throwing a snack for every day that they're getting a meal for, so that would be a bonus item for the families. And here, I could see the same thing working is teachers could sign up and say, you know what, I want the snack to be part of my afternoon routine. I will include that nutrition and whatever, and then we would try to fill their requests as we move forward. But it's about trying to keep these kids fed throughout the day, because we believe that the more that kids have access to nutritious food, the healthier they're going to be, not just now, but in the future. And they're maybe going to be less likely to get a cold or influenza or any of the things that could still get us sick that aren't COVID related, which none of which we want. So that's kind of it's really, really, really hard to get them to take it. Yes, sir.
So a comment and a question. So I just want to say kudos to you with the lunch program. You seem like a very creative person, and it feels like you're thriving in this constantly changing, situation. Back when we had the shutdown in March, and I just am really appreciative of the fact that lunch is something that we really just haven't had to worry about because you've handled it. So I thank you, for that.
Well, thank you. It's easy to be the conductor when you have such talent in the orchestra.
Absolutely, and that's great. The question I have is rumblings I've heard are just about portion sizes. So how do you give the same portion size to a 60-pound sixth grader and a 200-pound junior? Or do they get more food when they're older?
They do not. Actually, we portion everybody in the district the same size portion that's set for the high school grade level.
Okay.
There are modifications made at the kindergarten at McKinley. Like, for example, if there's a whole grain maple bar at the elementary schools, McKinley gets the half-size version of that and string cheese. Because we have a kind of a different point that we're trying to drive them. We're trying to build more of that kind of concept.
Sure.
The portion sizes and calories and all of the nutritional is all driven from the USDA.
Okay.
We have the entree in almost every case is the highest fat, highest sodium, highest carb, highest everything. We have virtually an unlimited amount of fruits and vegetables. Children can have 2 scoops of corn if they feel that at the elementary level, if we're having corn and they really love corn and they want 2 scoops, we don't have any issues with providing them more. Here at Kennedy School, instead of the salad bars being filled with endless pans full of stuff, they're all prepackaged and pre-bagged, and we have at least, 6 or 7 or 8 different kinds of vegetables, 7 or 8 different kinds of fruit every day. We almost always have some kind of hot vegetable, either beans or corn or peas or baked beans, those kind of things. And the children are welcome to add as much of that onto their tray. We've never stopped somebody who really wanted to have 4 packages of carrots and eat them. Getting them to take more is more of a challenge, and that's why we offer such a wide variety. But just like all the other school districts, we have a set amount of calories that we have to stay within. And if you're going to go over those calories, it's best you do that in fruits and vegetables because those are value-added calories.
So it's up to parents to tell their kids, hey, if you're still hungry, you can have plenty of carrots or whatever.
Well, there's all kinds of things. I mean, we have trail mix, we have non-nut trail mix. We have pudding day, we have, frozen juice cup day. We have, we do a number of things that are added to that. But, a slice of pizza is 436 calories, and it's a whomping slice of pizza.
Sure.
Now, the elementary school gets the 4x6 pizza, which is a smaller and more appropriate, and we also couldn't make enough of the big pizzas that we make here at Kennedy to supply the whole district. We just don't have the production needs to do that. But the pizza is really the only exception where the high school, which would be 5 through 12, is a larger portion than what the elementary schools get.
Josh, I like how you incorporated the 544 Foundation on here. That was nice.
And we have a bumper sticker that we're going to put on the front.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you for all your hard
Thank
work.
Yes.
It's come a long way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to bail on you guys now.
It's fine. Our next report is from Ryan Johnson, our IQ to talk about our IQ handbook and enrollment.
Good evening, thanks for having me. A little bit later this year, having to work with K-12 and making sure we could make the necessary adjustments to the elementary grading scale, so that took a little bit longer this year, usually about a month earlier in this process. No huge changes other than the last one I mentioned, the elementary grading. Updating the calendar, Title IX coordinators to match the districts, so it's Elaine and Eric for that. Todd Russell, we hired last December for EL services for our students, so she's included in that as well in the list of people in the directory for that. Part-time enrollment cutoff date, had it 1 day shorter just because ending on a Friday rather than carrying over to the following Monday. So that changed the semester too as well. This one was 14 days to a Thursday. Corresponding dates just for add drop classes as well. Page 19, that came from K-12, what to do when your online school is down. Just kind of encouraging them to still get online and work on assignments that hopefully they download or remember from the past. And encouraging students to keep trying. Just because it's down in the morning doesn't mean it's going to be all day. So K-12 is usually pretty good about getting things back up and going within a couple hours. Big change for us was going away from the MCIN grade scale and matching kind of what our elementaries are doing now with the 4-3-2-1 model. Still using that 90-80-70 model, but K-12 changed elementary grading a little bit as well. I'd equate, our IQ elementary that we're supporting homeschool families with that. So in the past, kind of the grading was marked based on that percent finished, was all marked by the learning coach on daily plans that they completed throughout the day, throughout the school year. Where now it's a combination of, there are assignments to turn in so the teachers can do some checks as well. So it'll be a combination of your daily plan completion as well as those kind of checkpoints that students are turning in to get that grade on there. Questions about the handbook?
Ryan, I have a question on when K-12 is down, rather than do the pull technology where the students have to go out and keep checking, is there a push technology that they can use where they can send a text out to the students and say, okay, it's up now?
Not a great one for students, especially secondary, because typically the information that we have is learning coach.
Okay.
Emails are sent out.
Okay, so you do.
If it is a prolonged,
Okay.
yep, that we can push that out to families, but we don't have a lot of student phone numbers.
Okay, so we do it by email.
System.
Thank you.
If it's a prolonged thing, then we will email, but if it's just a couple hours, we just encourage parents and families to keep trying. Enrollment update. Spreadsheet here. The side with the box is kind of the summary. I gave you all the different enrollment types. There's full-time, the full-time ID is full-time in-district students, part-time in-district students, part-time post-secondary, and full-time post-secondary. So within that box, you can see we've had a 146% increase in our elementary enrollment. So thank you very much for your work and supporting as we continue to hire at the elementary level. Appreciate that. At the middle school level, we've seen a 46% increase and a 15% increase at the high school level. Typically, we've been growing probably about 50 students each beginning of each school year, where this year you can see we had a huge jump. These are current numbers to date. We're only growing about 50. We're up about 200 this year with everything going on. So it continues to be a moving target, but I know enrollment team has slowed down now. Rather than 40 or 50 the month of September a week, now we're down to that 5 to 10 again, which is kind of normal for us. So.
And overall retention has gone, I mean, so far has it been, or is it still kind of that influx of people coming and going?
So far it's been more coming right now.
Okay.
Not as much going at this point.
Okay.
I think as we get into the term, and those are some of the conversations that I have to have as well. It's not a good fit for their student. The challenge this year is that a lot of districts don't have in-person model, or due to COVID, that parents don't want their students in district. So they're always looking for a fit where their students will be successful.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you very
Overall?
much.
Oh, overall? How's it going? Like, has it been a lot tougher? Are you doing all right, or?
I think we're doing great. I mean, we were built for this. Adding new staff, we've been fortunate that we've had great team members, already had a great team. They're great about working together. Appreciate the mentee situation as well, just because, especially with those elementary new hires, being able to partner them, and say, don't feel like you're bugging them. It's part of their mentee process as well, so much appreciated. We're just getting our most recent hire started today, helping out kindergarten and second grade, so hopefully that'll leave us a little room for growth for a while and don't have to be asking again for more FTEs. Eventually, but hopefully not soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next report will be from our elementary principal at McKinley and Adams, Scott Colbeck.
Good evening, everybody. So here we are today. We finished our 31st day of school, and we're very thankful for that. 31 days of K through 6, 100% in-person learning in our bricks and mortar school. Just very, very thankful and excited that we have gotten to this point. Then that means today was the 30th day of kindergarten, and of course there was a lot of fun going on over there if it was day 30. So thinking about what I might share with you tonight, this morning I started my day at McKinley, so I just started collecting some data. I've talked to you about the 4 minibus transfer sites that we have in our district this year, and so I started counting some kids arriving to McKinley on buses, and our mini bus transfer site at McKinley gave us 17 total students who came on the initial first 5 buses to McKinley School. Those kids arrived between 7:55 and 8:05. So here, those were our first 17 kids off the buses. And then pretty soon, at 8:10, here came 9 more kids at McKinley from the Adams transfer site. There's one bus, of course, that leaves Adams and shuttles the McKinley kids over to McKinley. A couple minutes later, here came 20 more kids to McKinley off the bus that comes from Cleveland. And then a little bit later, 35 kids coming to us from the transfer site at Kennedy, for a total of 81 students arriving to school today at McKinley by bus. And if you think about our total student population at McKinley right now of 232 kids, less the 12 distance learners, less the 18 students who were absent today, that gave us 202 kids in the McKinley building. So if 81 of those 202 arrived by buses, that was 40% of our student population, which meant 121 kids either were dropped off or walked. Of course, the majority of those were dropped off. Now, you heard Lance Wells, our dynamic food service director, talk to you a little while ago. He would probably not be very excited to know that only 86 students ate breakfast at McKinley this morning out of the 202 kids. That was 43% of those in attendance at breakfast. We have had as many as 115 kids eat breakfast on a given morning at McKinley. So that's just a little bit about just kind of what the day looks like in the morning and how kids are arriving and how they're getting to school. Then, of course, I ended my day at Adams. So I stood in the gymnasium and tallied kids as they were being picked up by an adult and leaving us at the end of the day. So first of all, we have 249 kids at Adams School, but if we take 20 first graders away from that number who are distance learning, and we take 18 second graders away from that number who are distance learning, less than 9 absent students, we had, ironically, 202 kids in person that were present at Adams today, just like at McKinley. 83 of those 202 students, or 41% of them, were picked up after school today. That means 119 of our students, or 59%, rode the bus home. So just found that interesting. That's a lot of traffic around the McKinley and the Adams areas. You know, if you think about when those buildings were built and the history of public school in Fergus Falls, those were, of course, neighborhood schools, and kids in grades K through 6 were walking to and from, and there was probably hardly a car in sight, and maybe 1 or 2 buses total that came from the country. That's why when there was snowstorms, we'd still have school because everybody would walk, and then if 1 or 2 students were gone, those were the rural kids. All right, so just a little bit about the morning at McKinley, the afternoon at Adams. I want to shift gears here into parent-teacher conferences. Parent-teacher conferences were to start last Thursday in the evening. Of course, we had our snow day, so those were rescheduled for this week, which is going to make for an interesting week. We've never had a week like we're going to experience this week, where our teachers teach a full day today, now they're conferencing tonight. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, normal days, Thursday, a normal day of school, conference again Thursday night, and then Friday, a normal day of school. So kudos to our staff. I know it's just Monday, but they're going to put in a good long week here, and I know they're up for it. The teachers that I have talked with are saying that these parent-teacher conferences over Google Meet are going very well. And if they're not able to conference with a family through Google Meet, then they are having a conference over the phone. So hearing all good reports about that. The end of our first quarter of school is just 2 weeks away. The quarter ends on November 6th. Our kindergarten teachers this week are busy doing a lot of assessment. The kindergarten report cards are quite comprehensive, and there's a lot of information to report on those. And so I just noticed that today a lot of our kindergarten teachers were starting the assessment process. Recently I've been signing a lot of purchase orders. It's no surprise that our 544 Education Foundation, they really bless our school system. Just one example, we have $4,000 worth of new risers at Adams School. And those risers double as flexible seating in the music room, and then can be used in the gymnasium or cafeteria for future music performances. That's just one example of many that I could share, but it's so much fun to sign all those purchase orders after the foundation grants a lot of those requests. Then just want to quickly mention our school resource officer at the elementary school, Officer Dustin Kitzman. He's just been doing a great job, and he's busy right now going around to all of the elementary schools, getting into every classroom and reading a story to every single classroom at the elementary school level. And he throws emails out to the staff, and of course they all take him up on his invitation to come into their classrooms. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, again, I said today was our 31st day of school. I'm just so very pleased that there has been only one day so far this school year where I have had to take a staff member from one building and send them over to another building to help us cover a classroom. The example that I'm talking about is I had to one day take a Title I teacher from Adams and send her over to McKinley School to be a kindergarten teacher on that particular day. Now this is a licensed teacher at Adams who used to be a kindergarten teacher. She's a Title I teacher right now. She, with a smile on her face, said no problem. She went over to McKinley and just handled the day beautifully. So that's just an example of kind of what we're doing right now sometimes to get through these days. And every day that we can get through and put it together and make it happen is just a day that we're just very thankful for and glad about. So with that, I will take any questions from the board.
Scott, are you seeing much migration from all day, every day in class, in bricks and mortar, moving over to distance in K6? I know you're not, I don't think.
Yeah, so I'll just speak to K2,
Yeah.
and K2 really the second grade classrooms at Adams School. I am not. Right away when the school year started, there was a lot of movement, but I don't think it had anything to do with some of the things that might be going on right now. It was just getting everybody kind of right where they needed to be. But it has really quieted down, and it has really settled down as far as movement of kids from one modality of learning to another.
I guess the reason I ask is I think that if we see a lot of movement at K6 level, then to me that would indicate that parents are uncomfortable with having their kids in school every day. And I realize there's been quite a bit of movement at the high school level, but I think there's different reasons for that. Talking to the staff and the administration, there's a number of different reasons why different students are moving back and forth. But I think as long as we're seeing stability at K6, I think that's a good sign for that the model we have right now is working.
any questions for Mr. Colvin? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Our next report is from our elementary principal at Cleveland, Cindy Run.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This week at Cleveland is our annual Friendship Week, and this is an exciting week for all the students and staff, of course. It's become an annual event, and our school-based social worker, Katie Yagi, heads this up and has a special theme for each day of the week, promoting friendship building skills. And throughout this week, she also is going into each of the classrooms, providing a lesson on that topic of what is a good friend and how to make friends, and lots to do with respect and responsibility. Today, there's a theme each day. Today's theme is Be a Good Sport, wear a jersey or sports gear. And so today, I proudly donned my Meadowlark lemon jersey. It's kind of fun that you get to have these opportunities throughout the school year to have a little fun with the kids. Tomorrow's theme is Friends Make Everything Brighter, so we're going to wear bright clothes tomorrow. On Wednesday, the theme is Positive Friendship Choices Aren't a Sweat, and wear sweats. On Thursday, it's Hats Off to Great Friends, and so we're going to be wearing hats throughout the day. And on Friday, the theme is Look Beautiful in your autumn maroon and gold. And so we're going to be having some fun on Friday as well. But the kids really get fired up for each of these themed days, and the staff do a great job of participating too. And as we know, 9 and 10-year-olds are really focusing on their circle of friends is growing and growing. They experience some age-appropriate social dilemmas, and we have a lot of opportunity to learn how to problem solve and forgive and forget and move forward. So it's a perfect theme week for all of us at Cleveland. Mr. Kolbeck and I oftentimes double up on topics that we're going to talk about. I just also wanted to recognize that fall conferences via Google Meet are going well. The teachers that I have talked with too have found Google Meet to be friendly to navigate, and things are working well. The teachers certainly are appreciating these opportunities to see families, see parents' faces on Google, on the computer screen, because even at open house night, we were all showing up with masks on. So it's a good opportunity for teachers and parents to have some so-called face-to-face discussions. This always comes around at a perfect time. Teachers have had opportunity to get to know their students quite well now, reflect on their school performance, and then provide some direction on where they're going here in the near future. So these fall conferences are very, very valuable. And then I also wanted to share another annual event that takes place in the elementary schools each fall is the fire safety poster contest that the local fire department hosts. All students are encouraged to participate and submit a poster on a given theme. This year's theme was fire safety in the kitchen, and there are 6 posters per grade level that are selected as the designs that really did a fine job of promoting the theme. And then thereafter, each grade level has an overall poster selection that's recognized. And this year, in first grade, Marina Beckler's poster was selected. In second grade, Berkeley Campion's poster. Third grade, Jude Shearer's. And fourth grade, Carson Lills. So those students, the firemen came to the schools and acknowledged each of these posters, returned some of the posters. They got a fire cap, pencils, a notepad, and just some fun things that recognize their efforts. And then there are 3 posters that are being selected to be entered in the state contest. So these kids, Marina Beckler, Berkeley Campion, and Carson Lills posters are being entered into the state contest. So they were really excited about that when the firemen stopped at the school. So, and with that, I'll conclude or take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Ron?
Same question I asked Scott. Are you seeing much movement in the community? Or Cleveland, I'm sorry?
We initially had movement both directions,
Okay.
in person to distance learning or distance learning to in person. Just every family has their own set of reasons what's going to work out best for them. Right now, we had a few families ask teachers, distance learning teachers, what is the possibility of coming into in-person learning?
Okay.
And so we're still open to doing that.
Sure.
At this point, with only 2 weeks left of the first quarter, we would be planning for that change to happen at the beginning of the second quarter.
So pretty stable right now.
Yeah, yep, just a natural break time as well.
And I got my favorite sports team jersey right here.
Yeah, go
That's good for Wednesday sweats and Friday morning golf too.
Perfect,
There you go.
perfect.
Never changing.
It's just a little warm in here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our next report tonight will come from our secondary school principal, Dean Monkey.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just to highlight a couple people that have spoken already tonight. Lance Wells is a treasure to have around here. I don't know anybody that works any harder. And I usually start my days in front of the main entrance, just kind of welcoming students in. And so I've had to share that space lately with Mr. Wells as he is hawking his breakfast wares out there. And anybody that passes him, it's not for lack of effort that they don't take his breakfast. He's just fantastic, and he's working really hard, and we just appreciate his efforts every day. And Ryan Johnson has done a fabulous job working with IQ Academy. And he kind of downplayed that idea here of hiring, but for this year, that has been just constant. You know, recruiting people after the school year starts in relationship to come on, especially with some of these elementary positions, has not been easy. And he's just done a fantastic job keeping us in the loop and sitting in on these interviews. It's just great, and the talent that we've been able to recruit even after the school year started is impressive, especially in relationship to the most recent hire in elementary. So he's doing a great job. A special thanks has to go out to our 544 Foundation. I came back after, I think it was an extended weekend here a couple weeks ago, and maybe it was just last week here, and our whole district office conference room was just filled with stuff, shipment that had come in. And I go, well, what is this all? Well, it's all wish list items and the new awards that they've made most recently. We couldn't keep it all in the front district office area, so we had to move it into this conference room to hold it all. So just a fantastic opportunity to get those odds and ends that we probably wouldn't be able to purchase just on our own, but because of that foundation, you know, we're able to get special car parts for a super mileage car, buckets and drumsticks for our music department, 2 extra cameras for our annual graphic details that he talked about, and Chromebook sleeves, you know, for all of our students. So just a fantastic opportunity to work with Education Foundation. They do so much for us. I'll be the third one to talk about parent-teacher conferences happening as we speak right here. And I think the biggest thing that I want to mention is that it is never too late for our parents to call in and set up for a parent-teacher conference. We've got tonight and we've got Thursday night as well. So anybody that's out there, or if we can get an extra plug in the newspaper here in time, we'd like to see more people at the secondary level, even if it's just a phone call, to please call in and set up some time with our teachers. And we do have some students that are struggling right now just in relationship to the different models that we have out there. And especially at our secondary level, we are looking to do something a little bit different come the end of this first quarter. We're looking to try to put some interventions in place here, sort of looking out to that November 5th and 6th kind of dates, where we're going to invite some students to come in, maybe on the opposite days with which they're here. I think many of our, especially our high school staff, are interested in just getting more time with individuals or small groups to try to help them catch up a little bit. So we are going to send some information out both to our parents and our students inviting them especially to come in, get some a little extra work done, a little extra attention coming in towards the end of this first quarter. For our 7th and 8th graders that are on quarter system, those are the end of some courses for them now over the first quarter. And for our high school students, this is right at a midpoint here in relationship to first semester. So we'll get some more information out on that and invite those students in for a little extra help. And finally, our Veterans Day program is something that I really enjoy putting together every year. And obviously this year it probably won't be a big event within our gymnasium, but we are going to put together a virtual program, and we will have that available on that Wednesday, November 11th, to put it out to the community. And we have our own Mr. Dennis Bowman, who has offered to speak. He did serve in the U.S. Navy, and so I'm really excited to hear what Dennis has to share with us. We're probably going to look at some old footage and maybe include that within the program as well, along with our music department is already being very creative in relationship to putting together some numbers for that program too. So just wanted to let the community know that that's not going to get forgotten, and we're going to make sure we put something together in observance of that Veterans Day. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Monteith? Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
And our last report is from Superintendent Drake.
Well, good evening. So I will be the 4th person to talk to you about parent-teacher conferences. And my message is just very simple, and thanking the parents that are making those conferences happen, even though it's virtual this year. It's such an important opportunity for our teachers and the parents to connect over the progress of their children, and really appreciate all the parents that take that opportunity to make those conference dates happen. No report would be complete without a COVID-19 update. And so here we are. Our county case rates per 10,000 continue to rise. They were at about 28 here at the end of last week. Every indication is that those are going to continue to increase. They're even higher on the eastern end of Otter Tail County than they are here, but certainly we are seeing and feeling the effect to some degree in Fergus Falls as well. At the end of last week, I put out a lengthy communication to our Otter families. With that, I discussed the case rate trending that had been happening. I've been putting out a COVID-19 weekly report now for about a month, so some of that data was included as well in terms of the number of cases, positive cases, combined staff and students that we've seen in the past week, and then also cumulative to date. And then talked a little bit about, I wanted to explain the district's process in making decisions from one point to the next in terms of our instructional model. And with the case rates rising, that really had brought us into a new phase of conversation where we employed the use of the Rapid Regional Response Team. So that is Jeremy Kovash from Lakes Country Service Co-op, 2 state epidemiologists, a state testing coordinator, and then Christy Wentworth and Jody Lean from Otter Tail Public Health, as well as some of the folks here in the district. Basically, what we advocated for was, if at all possible, to remain in a Tier 2 instructional model. And our rationale behind that recommendation and request was that, first of all, knock on wood, we have not seen a high prevalency of transmission within our school district. And we have approximately 480 employees and close to between 2,500 and 3,000 students. That's a large demographic. We also know, based on data, that our student growth rates, academic growth rates, this was with our lower elementary students, really suffered last year when we went to a 100% distance learning model. Mr. Monkey spoke about the number of failing grades that we have currently on the high school, and that's under a hybrid model, 2 days a week. And so as we looked at our data, both in terms of the impact it's having on our students academically, no doubt social emotionally as well, but the impact that we've seen in terms of health for students and staff, it seemed to make a strong argument to remain in Tier 2. And the state epidemiologists both were in agreement with that, and so that is where we've chosen to remain, and that's where we would like to remain, if at all possible, for the foreseeable future. So I wanted to communicate a little bit about that process. And frankly, I needed to do a better job of keeping the community up to date on how the district makes its decisions, what our plans are moving forward. And so I wanted to get that out there as well. And then the other lengthy piece of it really involved discussion about childcare, because that's a major concern for our families in the district. And I wanted to put out some clear communication about, with the governor's directives, who's eligible for free childcare that is provided by the school district in meeting that critical worker definition, Tier 1 worker, and which of our families needs to, if they haven't already, think about what alternative plans would need to be employed should we end up going to a hybrid model on the K-6 side as well. So a lengthy correspondence, but information that I thought needed to get out there to people. On the screen to my right is a draft, a working draft of a concept that I'm playing around with that would be a very simple kind of pictorial one-page report, COVID-19 report at the end of each week. And you see that it's got 3 stop lights, green, yellow, and red. Green would be that in that category, the news was favorable. For example, here I just put as an example, this is not anything based on the real data per se, but that did we have any positive cases among students or staff during the last week? I put green and then just a note in the box, no new cases, etc. Under yellow, on the county case rate side, I put that there because our case rates were continuing to rise. And then on the very bottom is probably the most important piece on this pictorial or table, and that is, what are the district's plans in terms of the instructional model? And under this one, I put that we plan to remain in Tier 2, and then I put a date there. And I put it under yellow only because the case rates were rising, but I might choose to keep that under green so that people could look at that in a moment and say, nothing's changing. I would move it to yellow if we're in our transition week, where we're saying, here's what's happening, we're going to move, but we're not going to move until this date, so the Friday after the Friday of the decision. And then I would move it to red on that Friday, well, I'll probably have to put out a little bit earlier than that, but red when we're on the eve or close to the change itself. So I'm still playing around a little bit with it conceptually, but what I want to do is just have a very quick, very clear snapshot that would go out each week to our families that show where the district's at, what our decision making is, and use that to keep our families better informed moving forward. As part of that report, this would be of more interest to people that like to get farther into the data. We did run into a site today that's kind of an interesting one. It can take the COVID-19 data and apply it simply to the zip codes that comprise our school district. So we don't have to worry about all the rest of the zip codes in Otter Tail County. We could look at it just in terms of District 544. It's very close to up to date. The data today was through October 22nd. And the stuff that I report every week has quite a lag behind it that we get from the Department of Health. But that data would have put us at 34.1 and rising. And it also shows kind of a neat map view of the zip codes in the district, and it'll put them in green if the cases are low, red if they're high, or kind of a flesh color if they're somewhere in between. So I thought it would be easy enough to tag that down at the bottom for those people that want to see more in-depth data about what's going on within the district and the cases, but use that top piece. If someone looked at nothing more than that graph or table up at the top, they would have a very quick snapshot of what's happening with the district, and you could look at it and know where you're at in 30 seconds. So with that, feel free to give me some feedback on the, or ask questions about that concept here at the end of my report. November 6th is the end of first quarter. My appreciation goes out to all the district staff for all their hard work. This has been an exceptionally challenging school year that goes all the way back to the summer months in terms of planning and decision-making leading into it. I'm very proud of the work that's being done, of the effort that's in place, of the commitment that's in place, even though we know that we have some things to continue to work on. Here we are almost a quarter of the way through the school year, and we've still been able to, knock on wood, maintain a Tier 2 instructional model, which is what we started the year off with. And I feel very blessed and fortunate that we are in that position. Update on the Lincoln School project. Because of our snowfall event last Thursday, that meeting was canceled. So I won't get a new update on that until this Thursday. I am meeting with Melissa Amundsen and Sue Staffkey this week to just talk about some transition planning as we get closer and closer to the completion date of that project. We're expecting some clarification in the coming days from MDE regarding truancy, which is another challenging concept with distance and hybrid learning. And we're also expecting some further guidance on the world's best workforce. That's a report that I will prepare with the help of some other staff members, Hannah in particular, and we'll present at the November board meeting. But we don't have some of the testing results this year that would typically be embedded in that report. And the state is supposed to give us some guidance any day now on how they want us to handle that lack of information. I talked to one of our auditors late this afternoon. They're getting very, very close to having our audit complete. And I want to thank Blake and his staff for all their hard work in working with the audit staff. We look forward to the formal audit report that will come to the district, I believe, during our November board meeting. We had a DACRAC meeting last Monday. World Languages gave a presentation, and the Science Department gave a presentation as well. Both did a really nice job. Our Science Department is up for curriculum adoption this year, and this also kind of falls in line with some pretty substantial changes that have been made with the science standards at the state level. So we will be incorporating those changes with our curriculum adoption and moving forward. We also had a Curriculum Strategic Planning Committee meeting. That was last Wednesday. We continued our discussion on gifted and talented education. Then we moved into the ISTE standards, digital literacy, citizenship, and we will be moving into conversations about STEM and STEAM education and coding and also maker spaces coming up this Wednesday. So those have been some really fun discussions and a chance for us to take a step back and analyze where we're at and what it would take to become the district that we want to see moving into the future. I have an MRA board meeting tomorrow morning, And at some point during that meeting, former Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Alan Page and Neil Kashkari, who's the president of the Federal Reserve Bank in Minneapolis, will join that virtual meeting. And they're going to discuss a change, an amendment to the Minnesota Constitution. And this language is still probably in somewhat draft form, but I do want to read just a paragraph to you. Because if this would become part of our Constitution, it would have some significant impact moving forward on public education. So here's the paragraph. All children have a fundamental right to a quality public education that fully prepares them with the skills necessary for participation in the economy, our democracy, and society as measured against uniform achievement standards set forth by the state. It is a paramount duty of the state to ensure quality public schools that fulfill this fundamental right. So, a couple things that would be really interesting to get some clarification on really are the guarantees inherent in this statement. Typically, schools operate under a format where we are committed and I would say obligated to provide the supports and the academic curriculum to help all students be successful. But it never really has gone to the extent as to provide a guarantee. There are certainly factors that impact a student's success that are beyond the school district's control. And so I'm really interested tomorrow to hear them address how they view this language and who bears what responsibility in the education of the children of Minnesota. The last thing that I wanted to update you on, unfortunately, Lance left you with a positive. I'm going to leave you with a frustration on my part. Our 200 device Chromebook order has been pushed out yet again. Keep in mind, we were expecting this order towards the end of July, early August. Then another promise, and then another promise, and now here we are, another potentially month out. In the meantime, Mike Donahoe has really done a nice job reanalyzing the devices that we do have in case we would be faced with a hybrid or distance learning scenario on the elementary side. We do have enough devices that we could put a single model in the hands of kindergarten and first graders. Second graders, we would have to do a mix and match kind of thing. We do not have enough of a single model to be able to do that. And then that would leave us with just a handful of spare devices moving forward. But that is where we're at. It's frustrating, but there's the only other option, and there would still be another wait for those, would be to put in an order through a different vendor. Since this purchase order went in probably late last spring, I'm thinking now, it's been forever, the prices of these devices have skyrocketed because of the difficulties with production. And so to try to go to another vendor and get devices, it would cost us significantly more than staying with the order that we already have and hoping that somehow we get them sooner rather than later. So that is my report, and we'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Questions from the board? Just a comment on the design of that for parents and that. I like it, but can you also add co-curricular activities
Absolutely.
onto that?
Yep.
I think that would be a good thing to add onto there, just because it can differ from what's going on within the school district itself.
Easy to do, yep. Be
Yep.
happy to do it.
The other question on the Chromebooks, is there any possibility of getting a partial order? I mean, have you talked about at least fulfilling some of the order of the Chromebooks in the full?
I asked Mike about that, and so we're in the queue. And so what they're saying is that where we're at in line for the new devices, we're basically, it sounds to me like we're getting all of them or none of them.
I had some parents' comments about the letter you sent out explaining, last week, explaining our potential to move a tier and how you advocated to stay in our current model, and they certainly appreciated it, thought it was very well written, and just appreciated your method and your attitude and the way you spelled it out.
Oh, thank you for passing it along.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I think in your report, you said, since the beginning of the school year, we've had 10 confirmed cases in the district between students and staff. Do you know how many of those are active right now?
I don't.
You have
Number of active cases
Yeah,
that we
I'd
have?
have to go back.
Okay.
I don't know if any of them are active right now.
Um,
I'm
we,
almost-
we have, this wouldn't have been part of that report.
Right.
I know we have 2 active cases as of today.
Okay. I guess the reason I ask is, I mean, if our case rate, I'm a numbers guy. If our case rate is 28 in Otter Tail County, we have 56,000 people in Otter Tail County, that's 5.6 times 10,000. So there's about 160 cases in the county. If you take that down to our 3,500 people, and look at our students plus our employees,
Yep.
we're about 3,500. Our expected number of active cases at any given time at that number is about 10. So if we're sitting at 2, it's a lot better than if we're at 22. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you would expect that because students are less likely to spread it and to get it and everything. And I hope it says that we're doing the right things in schools with the masking and with the distancing and people doing what, to be as safe as we can. That's my point.
I still think that under the quarantining rules, that poses the biggest threat for us changing instructional models. I am aware of, and I think this is solid information, but I'm not hearing it directly, that at least 2 schools in our county ended up basically quarantining an entire grade level for a period of time. And it only really took 1 positive case to bring that about. So while I'm complimenting parents on their participation in parent-teacher conferences, I also want to compliment them on making sure they're screening their kids, and if their kids have symptoms, keeping them home, because that really is one of our best possible deterrents to keep us from keeping us in a face-to-face instructional model going forward.
I know we talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, but was Otter Tail County able to tell you like how much more testing they're doing? Because clearly that's driving a lot of the positive cases too. There's a lot more testing being done now than there was a month ago.
So
Any idea?
we talked about that, we talked about testing during the Rapid Regional Response Team meeting. And if I'm capturing public health sentiments, local Otter Tail County Public Health, they were working on increased testing. So I would guess this opportunity for all of us basically to get tests was still in the works and not confirmed at that point, because they didn't come out and say this is absolutely a done deal at that point. But you're absolutely right. The more access to testing we have, presumably we are going to see those rates continue to go up somewhat.
I guess I just had a comment, and I did appreciate the letter that you sent out, super detailed. I thank you for that. And I kind of feel like our school is in the middle of a hurricane. We were doing well with our numbers, which is why we can stay in tier 2. And I guess I would just urge parents is that when the kids are not in school, make sure that they are wearing their masks. The get-togethers, the sleepovers, the youth group, the churches, the things where people are still congregating. I heard on NPR and way over that our numbers are ready to explode in Minnesota. And I want to keep our kids in school as long as possible, but we cannot do that if our numbers go up in the schools. As the numbers are increasing in Otter Tail County, it's okay to ask that youth pastor, are you guys wearing masks at church? Or if you're going to watch a game or something like that, or if they're riding in a vehicle with a bunch of kids, hanging out, are they wearing masks in there? It's okay. Most kids will wear a mask if they're told to. you know, they will. And it's okay to put your foot down and say you cannot do this unless you're wearing a mask. And it has nothing to do with my personal opinion, it's just a fact. If our COVID numbers go up in our schools, we're going to go to another tier. Our numbers right now, we should be in tier 4 if we get to, if the 30 plus cases per 10,000 is correct. That's where we should be, where we're choosing tier 2 because we want our student achievement not to suffer anymore. So I guess that's just my message. Please just follow the dang rules so that we can keep our kids in school outside of these walls. So.
Any other comments or questions?
I guess I just want to say thanks to you, Jeff, and to the administrative staff, and I've talked to a lot of the teachers, and I mean, nobody signed up for this. And it's interesting to me, 4 years ago, we had 3 openings in the school board, and we had 8 people run. 2 years ago, we had 3 openings, we had 5 people run. This year, we have 3 openings, and we have 3 people run. So it's like, not only did we not sign up for this, but there's other people that don't really want to sign up for this either. So, I mean, and you know.
Or we're just doing a great job.
We're gonna, maybe that's it. So, so we'll, you know, just keep doing what we're doing, I guess.
I think there's a lot of people in education that have reviewed when they're eligible for retirement. 6 months.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next items here. We have our general consent items we have to approve. We're making a motion to approve the minutes for the October 12th board meeting. Personnel, Elaine Jenke.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I have just one hire for our IQ Academy, and that's Nora Tierney. She's the elementary teacher at IQ Academy and part-time teacher at this time. And I'm assuming as enrollments kind of switch and change, we'll probably increasing her throughout the year. But at this point, we're starting her at a .2604. So I present that for board approval tonight.
Can I have a motion to approve the general consent items?
So moved.
Thank you, Missy. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Kirby. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? General consent items pass. There is no old business. Moving on to new business, we have one item here for the 2020-2021 IQ Academy Handbook that was presented to us. Can I get a motion to approve that as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Melanie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Natalie. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes our regular school board meeting tonight. After this, we will be going to a work session to talk about gymnastics, driver's ed vehicles, the impact of hybrid distance learning models, canvassing the November board meeting, canvassing November board meeting and Zoom, and consulting service contract for intercultural development and fluency workshop. Our next regular school board meeting will be Monday, November 16th at 5:15 p.m., either at the Outer Community Room or here at the Media Center at Kennedy Secondary School. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.